Hey guys, it is life coach and licensed therapist Robin May and the founder of the I Believe in Marriage Network. Stop before you log off. Before you log off, do you know that marketers have told those of us who often do Facebook Lives that people literally log on to Facebook Live for 3 seconds and then they log off? I want to challenge you. Your marriage deserves a little bit longer than 3 seconds, and you clicked on this for a reason. So I'm challenging you to give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes, and I can almost promise you that you're going to get a nugget that you can take away and use in your marriage, okay? So again, I am Robin May, the founder of the I Believe in Marriage Network, and periodically you're going to see me looking down at my phone. You're going to see me looking over to the left at my notes. I do that so that I can engage with all of you a little bit better. I can see the comments on the on my phone, and I can look at my notes. Okay, so that's a little bit of the reason why you see me kind of looking back and forth. All right, so before I get started on today's topic, I do have a question for you, but I first want to share with you this. Listen, this is the no roommate zone year for the I Believe in Marriage Network. The no roommate zone year. I am committed to ensuring that my husband and I stay out of the roommate zone. And I am committed to you to help you and your husband, you and your wife get out or stay out of the roommate zone. So make sure you stay connected to me right here at the I Believe in Marriage website or on our Instagram, IBelieve_in_marriage. There are so many things I have coming to support you and your spouse as you strive to get out or stay out of the roommate zone. So here's the question I wanted to ask you before we dive into our topic. Okay. If the rest of your marriage, if your marriage continued the same way that it is going right now, if your marriage continued in the same way that it is going right now for the rest of the year, would you be satisfied? Let me ask you that question again. If your marriage continued the same way it's going right now for the rest of the year, would you be satisfied? Now, your answer to that question, either way, gives you an indication of what you need to be doing. So if you say, yes, Robin, absolutely. If my marriage continued just the way it is, I would really be satisfied. If we could stay on track the way we are right now for the rest of the year, I would really be satisfied in my marriage. If that is the case, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to take some time to ask yourself, what are we doing right? What is going right? Just the other day, I had a couple come in my office, and as soon as a couple sits down, like it's something, I have some kind of marriage whisperer gift. I don't know. When somebody walks in, I can sense right away, a couple, when they walk in, I can sense right away what space that they're in. So this particular couple, I've worked with them before, and they walked in and I said, y'all are in a good space. Just their body language. Even when I walked them down the hall, they were kind of laughing with one another. When they sat down, they didn't sit down on opposite sides of the couch. They sat right up under each other. The husband was patting the wife's leg, and the wife was kind of leaning into her man. I said, wait a minute. Y'all are in a good space. What's going on? And they both said, well, we just decided to hit reset. We decided to hit reset. So as I continued to probe, I said, what does reset look like? And they were like, huh? I said, what does reset look like? Because here's the deal. You guys started coming to me not because you were in a good place. You started coming to me because you were in a very difficult season of your marriage. And now you're here and you're all up under each other. You're sitting near each other. I said, and you're telling me that you hit reset. What does that mean? And let me tell you, it was difficult. I was probing. I was digging, trying to get them to answer. Let me tell you why. Because they are going to hit a rough patch again. They're going to hit a challenging time. Y'all, that's just the nature of marriage. You go through ups and downs. And I'm going to share with you, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but during the next couple of months, I'm going to be sharing with you how to get out of the roommate zone. I'm going to give you a hint now. One of the ways is you have to know what works for us. What is the thing that gets us back on track? And so I was trying to help them identify, you guys are in a good place. What did you do? So that's the question for you. If you're saying, yes, Robin, if the rest of 2018 goes just the way it's going right now, my spouse and I are good. I want you to stop and identify, what are the two of you doing right now that's working? Okay. Now, if you tell me, no, ma'am, Robin, we cannot continue down this same path. We cannot keep doing what we are doing. I have a question for you as well. You have to ask yourself, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to do to get back on track? What am I willing to do to get back on track? And you hear I didn't say, what is my spouse willing to do? What are you willing to do? Can I tell you a myth that I hear often? This is a myth. People often tell me, Robin, if my spouse isn't willing to work on the marriage, there's no way our marriage can get better. If my spouse is not willing to work on the marriage, there's no way our marriage can get better. There is some truth to that, but there is some untruth to that as well. Because here's the deal. It only takes one. It only takes one of you to get the ball rolling. Now, let me be clear before you go around saying that Life Coach Robin May is giving you falsehoods. Absolutely. It takes two to make a marriage work ultimately. Ultimately, it takes two people to make a marriage work. But you only need one person to get the ball rolling. And if one of you would just commit, if one of you would commit to doing something differently, if one of you would commit to opening your heart up, if one of you would commit to speaking differently, to behaving differently, I am a living witness. I've seen it with my own eyes. That gets the ball rolling. I have a question here. What do you do when you want marriage counseling, but your husband does not? I have a good one for you. Let me answer that question right away. I would have saved it for last, but let me go ahead and answer you. If you believe that you and your spouse need marriage counseling and your husband just refuses to go, first of all, let me tell you, you're not by yourself. As a matter of fact, Nicole, that's who asked the question. Nicole, as a matter of fact, wives often get a little frustrated with me when they come in my office with their husbands initially, because I always tell the husband, thank you for coming in. I always acknowledge to the husband, thank you for coming in. And I know that seems a little stereotypical, but in the therapy land, we often say it's very hard to get the husband in the room. So when the husband comes in, I acknowledge him because I think that's important to acknowledge him for being willing to commit to the marriage. So Nicole, this is my answer to you. If your husband, or if a husband or a wife for that matter, refuses to go, this is going to surprise you, but I would encourage you to still go. I would encourage you to still go to counseling, because this is what I have found. Even when both parties are going to counseling together, the husband does agree or the wife does agree and they go to marriage counseling, I would say 80% of the time, I encourage my couples to go to individual. Not with me. Once they're working with me for couples counseling, I don't do their individual, but I will encourage both of them to find their own individual counselor, because often there is something that you need to see about you. So if your husband refuses to go, I would encourage you to still go, because if you get the right therapist, if you get the right life coach, they can coach you through what the things that you can do differently that can start the ball rolling. All right. All right, guys. So I am ready to dive into our topic today. The topic is, what are the three indicators that you and your spouse are disconnected? So as I was working on this topic, I often pray before I get started on these kind of topics. And I was thinking, as I was praying and I was mulling it over, I was saying, there are going to be some people who are saying, Robin, I don't need you to tell me that we're disconnected. Like, I don't need to know what these three indicators are. I know we're disconnected and I really don't need you to tell me. But you're not the only person that I'm talking to. I definitely want to talk to you, but there are some people out there who they're feeling something, they're sensing something, but they're trying to figure out if is it me and my spouse? Is it just me? And I want to help you identify if is it just life stuff? Is it just we're super busy? Because here's the deal. Being super busy doesn't automatically mean that you and your spouse are disconnected. So you can be super busy. You can even feel like, gosh, I haven't spent some time with my spouse, but that doesn't automatically mean you're disconnected. Okay. So I want to help you identify three indicators that are saying, these three things are a highlight, or they're kind of shining a light if you and your spouse are disconnected. Okay. So here is the very first one. One of the first ways you can tell that your marriage or you and your spouse are disconnected are when small irritants become huge irritants. When small things that happen with your spouse become huge things. And how do you know that it's not just life? When the only person wearing you out is your spouse. The kids aren't bothering you. Your boss, he's a trip, but he's not bothering you, or she's not bothering you, because I am woman, hear me roar. Or she's not bothering you. It's not your mom irritating you. When you are saying specifically, everything that my spouse does irritates me. I often use this example. My husband likes to say I'm a bit messy. You know, I'm not going to agree with that. Although if I were to let you see what's going on outside of the boundaries of this Facebook Live, you might agree with him as I look around. But that's just something that, has kind of happened over these almost 16 years of marriage. But when that thing that's normally a small irritant begins to annoy my husband to a greater degree, that's an indication we might be having a little disconnection. If my husband he has this strange cough, y'all. Every so often, he gets this strange cough, and he doesn't just cough. He doesn't just say, it has to be, it's this loud, obnoxious cough. Well, when that starts to annoy all aspects of me, normally I can ignore it. But when I start feeling like, so really? You're just going to cough like you got to keep When I start being that annoyed, that's an indicator that something might be going on with me and my husband. Does that make sense? Okay. So the first indicator that something is going on, that something's not quite right, is when small irritants become big annoyances. Every little thing your spouse does, things that they normally do, you can no longer take it anymore. It's about to drive you crazy. And nobody else is wearing you out like that other than your spouse. That's an indication that something might be going on with your connection with your spouse, okay? Now, as you are logging on now, I'm asking you to share this on your page. Let people know this is must-watch Facebook. Let them know I am sharing 3 indicators that you and your spouse are disconnected. Also, as you're logging on, you'll see a link right at the top. It's IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year, because I don't believe in sharing these tips with you and not giving you something to walk away with. So I have a free resource just for you to help you and your spouse start the new year off right. I want to help you and your spouse start the year off right. It's absolutely free. You can download it, print it out, save it to your phone, and it's 3 super easy steps you and your spouse can take to get back on track. And what I love the most about it is that you can be the initiator. And I say that often because often when I'm working with people, particularly coaching, often I'll only just have the husband or I'll only just have the wife, and they're trying to get their spouse on board. So I like to give strategies and tips that you can do, that you can start out, okay? So today I'm sharing 3 indicators that you and your spouse are disconnected. And the first one I shared was small irritants become big aggravations, big frustrations for you, and is really just your spouse. Here's the second one. When you have big news, it can be good news, it can be not so good news, but when you have big news and your spouse isn't the initial person you want to share it with, that could be an indicator that there's a bit of a disconnect. When there's something great going on, like I cannot wait, this really great thing happened at the office, or this really great thing happened with the kids, and your spouse isn't the first person you want to share that with, or something really difficult happened, or you're really struggling with something and your spouse isn't the first person you want to share it with, that could be an indicator that there's a slight disconnection going on with you and your spouse. So that leads me to this. People often ask me, Robin, does your spouse have to be your best friend, or should your spouse be your best friend? And people are often surprised when I give this answer. I don't think it matters. Quite frankly, I think we get too caught up in that term. I believe the better question this is the better question, is your spouse your priority? Whether you use the words best friend or not, is your spouse your priority? Think about what you do with best friends. You like to laugh, talk, hang out with, do nothing with, just kind of veg out with. And those are the people that you share good things with. If that's you and your spouse, you don't necessarily have to use the term best friend. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what I think is dangerous. I think it's super, super dangerous when we expect our spouse to be our everything. When we expect our spouse to be our everything, that's dangerous, y'all. That's too much for one person to handle. If my husband had to handle everything that goes on in my mind, if my spouse had to carry all of this craziness, I need to spread this craziness out. I need to share some with my best friends. I need to share with my mother. I need to share with my sister. So then my husband only gets a portion of all of this. If you expect your spouse to be the person you shop with, the person you go to the movies with, the person you, cook with, if that your spouse is expected to be your everything, that's a lot of pressure for one person. So should your spouse be your best friend? I think that's the wrong question. The better question is your spouse your priority? Does your spouse feel respected, loved, valued? That's a bigger question, okay? So again, when I'm talking about this indicator that you and your spouse are disconnected, I'm saying when something good happens, it doesn't mean that there aren't other people you want to share it with. So often when something really exciting happens to me, there's a list of people that come to mind. Or when challenges happen, there are lists, that list is probably shorter. There's a list of people that come to mind that I want to share it with. But my husband is always top of the list. So if he isn't, if there's something that's going on and he isn't at the top of the list, that's an indicator. Wait a minute. Is there a disconnect going on? Why don't I want to share this with him? So the first indicator is that when small irritants become a big deal. The second indicator is when something big happens and your spouse isn't the first person you want to share it with. And here's the third indicator, that there might be a slight disconnect between you and your spouse. Here's the third indicator. You can't remember the last time the two of you had one-on-one time together, uninterrupted, without the kids. You can't remember the last time you and your spouse had one-on-one time together, uninterrupted, without the kids. So can I tell y'all this tripped me out. And I talk about this in a program that I'm going to be offering to you guys soon. It's a communication training that when I tell you I have prayed over it, I have worked on this, I believe it's going to be a critical piece to helping us all stay out of the roommate zone. But as I've been doing research for it, one of the things I found out is that married couples spend 4 minutes a day in one-on-one time. On average, married couples spend 4 minutes a day in uninterrupted time. Y'all, that's about 35 minutes a week. I remember once when I shared this statistic, because the statistic has been mulling over in my mind. I shared this statistic with the couple, and the husband said, "Whew, we beat that. We get 10 minutes a day." That's not exciting either. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we don't have time every single day to spend hours upon hours staring at each other in the eye and just loving on one another uninterrupted. I know we don't have time for that. But we shouldn't be excited even just about 10 minutes a day if that's all we are getting. So if married couples are only spending 35 minutes a week together, no wonder our relationship can feel disconnected. So do you remember at the top of this Facebook Live, I said being busy isn't automatically an indicator that we're disconnected. But if we stay busy all the time and we don't do anything about it, it can lead to disconnect. Okay? So if you and your spouse can't remember the last time you had extended one-on-one time together, uninterrupted, without the kids, that can be an indicator that there is a slight disconnect going on. Listen, I read this research too, and this really stood out to me. There is a gentleman named, his last name is Gotham, and he does a lot of research on couples. And one of the things that he found is that when a spouse is making attempts to spend time with their spouse, or they're making attempts to connect with their spouse, and that attempt is gone unnoticed, 35% of the time, if it's gone unnoticed, 35% of the time, it leads to divorce. Am I explaining that right? So let me read it to you exactly. Couples who respond to their spouse's request for attention, 86% of the time stay together. So I hope that's clearer. Couples who respond to their spouse's request for attention, 86% of the time stay together. But those who only responded 36% of the time led toward divorce. Okay, so what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? Well, when my husband says, "Hey, baby, what you doing? You want to go?" What would he say? "Baby, what you doing? You want to go to the movies?" That's what he wants to do all the time. "Baby, you want to go to the movies?" Yo, I'm not into the movies. I don't like the movies. I have adult ADD. It causes me to be off track. I want to have my cell phone out the whole time. If I could take my tablet to the movies, it would be great. When I'm at home looking at the movies, I promise you I'm doing 10 different things. I don't enjoy that a whole lot. But when my spouse says that, it's important that I respond positively to that as often as I can, because I want to respond to his request for attention. Ladies, your husband probably won't say, "Hey, honey, will you give me some attention?" But when he says things like, "Hey, baby, you want to run to the," That's a request for attention. Fellas, you too. If your spouse is saying, babe, can you run over here with me real quick? They just want some attention. They just want some time. And when you respond to that, you will have a greater chance of maintaining a healthy marriage. Okay, so I told you, if you logged on, that marketers have taught me. One of my best friends is a marketer, and she has told me, listen, Robin, you got 3 seconds. You got 3 seconds to grab their attention. If I only have 3 seconds, I don't want you just to give your marriage 3 seconds. So if you've stayed on a little longer than 3 seconds, I hope that the information I shared with you so far has really helped. I gave you the 3 indicators that you and your spouse may be disconnected. Number 1, small irritants become a big deal. Number 2, your spouse, what was number 2, y'all? You know, I forgot that quick. Number 2 is you have big news and your spouse isn't the first person you want to reach out to. And then number 3, you can't remember the last time you and your spouse had uninterrupted time together without the kids, okay? So those are some indicators that you and your spouse may be disconnected. Now, when I'm teaching these kind of things, there are always exceptions to the rules. So I know some of you may be thinking, well, Robin, number 1 doesn't apply to me, or number 3 doesn't apply. I want you to look at it generally, step back, and then specifically think about your marriage. Remember, you can go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year, because I am giving you 3 easy tips to get started on the right track this year. So go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year, grab that free resource, download it to your phone, print it out, and you can prompt those conversations for you and your spouse, okay? So when I talked about doing this Facebook Live, I shared with you guys that I wanted to give you 3 words that you can use to reconnect with your spouse. But I'm actually going to give you several sets of 3 words, and I'm going to explain to you what I mean. So let me give you a few of them. Here are some words that you can say to help you and your spouse get back on track. Are you ready? I miss you. I miss you. Tell your spouse, listen, babe, I miss you. And then go on to say, I'd love to spend some time with you, or I need you. I enjoy you. I value you. You're my priority. You're my choice. Imagine, ladies, if you told your husband, listen, I know I got my girlfriends, but I always want you to know you're my choice. If I got to choose who I'm going to hang out with, baby, you're my choice. Fellas, you tell your wife, now I love my boys, but you're my choice. Or you tell your wife, I miss you. That would go so far. Remember, I shared with you that it only takes one to get the ball rolling. It only takes one person in the marriage to get the ball rolling. Yes, it takes 2 to tango. Just one person needs to pull your spouse out on the dance floor. So I want you to take the initiative. You are the one who is watching this Facebook Live. So what if God is gracing you to be the one to create the change in your marriage? So I shared with you those 3 strategies, those 3 words that you can use. And I gave you several phrases. Baby, I need you. My husband just logged on. So I'm going to tell you right now, honey, I need you. I want you. You're my choice. Imagine how good that'll make your spouse feel. And let me tell you why I'm telling you to use those 3 words. Because it takes your spouse's defenses down. You're not telling your spouse, listen, we don't spend enough time together, or you're not attacking them. You don't have time for me, or you're not saying things like, everything else comes before me. You're being very clear to say, it's me, and I want more of you. I just want some of your time. But you're saying it in a way that draws them to you instead of pulling them away from you. So those 3 words. Isn't there a song, These 3 Words? Isn't that a song? Maybe I shouldn't try to sing. All right, guys. So I hope you gained some insight on this Facebook Live. Don't go away without clicking the link above. IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. And when you go there, you will get a free resource that gives you some strategies, 3 easy tips, super easy and fun tips to help you and your spouse start the new year off right. Okay? Make sure you are sharing this Facebook Live. You are tagging your husband, tagging your wife, tagging your friends. Remember, friends don't let friends stay in the roommate zone. I am committed to you this year. I'll be in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys again next week. Bye.